When security footage showed a child breaking into TechCorp's dumpster every Tuesday night, CEO Jonathan Hayes assumed it was another case of petty theft until he discovered what the boy was actually building with their discarded circuit boards. The grainy black and white video revealed a small figure methodically sorting through electronic waste, carefully selecting specific components with the precision of an experienced engineer. Before we begin this wonderful story, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now, let's get back to the story. 9-year-old Marcus Chen moved through the shadows behind Silicon Valley's most prestigious tech campus like a ghost. His worn sneakers made no sound as he approached the massive industrial dumpsters where TechCorp disposed of their obsolete equipment. To most people, these containers held worthless junk, broken motherboards, outdated processors, and damaged hard drives. But to Marcus, they were treasure chests filled with the building blocks of his dreams. The security guard, Mike Rodriguez, had been watching the Tuesday night intrusions for weeks. Initially concerned about corporate espionage, he'd installed additional cameras to catch the mysterious figure. What he discovered challenged everything he thought he knew about technology and resourcefulness. "Mr. Hayes," Mike said during his Wednesday morning report, "you need to see this footage. The kid isn't stealing anything. He's leaving things." Jonathan Hayes stood 6 feet tall in his perfectly tailored navy suit, his salt and pepper hair immaculately styled despite the early hour. At 45, he'd built TechCorp from a garage startup into a trillion-dollar empire that dominated artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and quantum processing. His corner office on the 40th floor overlooked the sprawling campus where 3,000 of the world's brightest minds worked to shape humanity's technological future. "What do you mean, leaving things?" Jonathan asked, his attention focused on the quarterly earnings report displayed on his monitor. Mike pulled up the security footage on the conference room's main screen. "Watch this. Tuesday night, 11:47 p.m. The video showed a small figure approaching the dumpster, but instead of taking items out, the child was carefully placing something inside. Jonathan frowned, minimizing his financial reports to focus on the screen. "What is he putting in there?" "That's what I wanted to show you," Mike fast-forwarded to Wednesday morning. "The cleaning crew found this." He held up a small device, a compact computer no larger than a paperback book, constructed from various discarded components but functioning perfectly. A handwritten note was attached. "Your quantum processor has a memory leak. This fixes it. M." Jonathan took the device, his business instincts immediately recognizing sophisticated engineering when he saw it. "This is impossible. Our quantum processors are classified technology. How could a child even know about the memory leak, let alone create a solution?" "There's more," Mike continued. "We found 17 of these devices over the past month. Each one addresses specific problems with our current systems, problems that our own engineers haven't even identified yet." Jonathan's phone buzzed with an urgent message from his chief technology officer, Dr. Sarah Kim. "Jonathan, we need to talk immediately. Someone's been leaving AI optimization devices in our disposal units. They're not just functional, they're revolutionary." 20 minutes later, Jonathan sat in TechCorp's most secure laboratory, watching Dr. Kim demonstrate one of the mysterious devices. Sarah, a brilliant engineer who'd earned her PhD from MIT at 24, handled the small computer with the reverence typically reserved for priceless artifacts. "This device," she explained, connecting it to their main testing system, "somehow overcomes the processing limitations that have plagued our AI development for 2 years. Watch." The laboratory's screens filled with data as the homemade computer interfaced seamlessly with TechCorp's most advanced systems. Jonathan watched the performance metrics in disbelief. "That's a 47% increase in processing speed. Our team has been working on this problem for months." 18 months, Sarah corrected. "And this solution is elegant in its simplicity. Whoever built this understands quantum computing at a level that rivals our most senior engineers." "But it's constructed from our garbage," Jonathan pointed out, examining the device's improvised housing. Recycled circuit boards, salvaged memory chips, repurposed cooling systems. It looks like something from a science fair. Sarah nodded. That's what makes it so extraordinary. This person took components we considered worthless and combined them in ways we never imagined. It's not just engineering, it's art. Jonathan's mind raced with implications. If someone was developing this level of technology using discarded materials, what could they accomplish with proper resources? More importantly, who was this mysterious benefactor, and why were they helping TechCorp solve problems anonymously? I want to meet this person, Jonathan decided. Mike, set up surveillance for next Tuesday. I'll be there personally. The following Tuesday night, Jonathan Hayes found himself crouched behind a landscaping barrier at 11:30 p.m., feeling ridiculous in his expensive suit while conducting what amounted to corporate espionage in reverse. Mike positioned himself near the building's rear entrance, ready to intervene if the situation required security assistance. At exactly 11:43 p.m., a small figure emerged from the shadows. Jonathan's breath caught as he realized just how young the mysterious engineer actually was. The boy couldn't be older than 9 or 10, wearing clothes that had clearly seen better days, but moving with purpose and confidence through the dimly lit area. Marcus Chen approached the dumpster with practiced efficiency, pulling a small backpack from his shoulders. Jonathan watched in fascination as the child removed what appeared to be another handmade device, this one even more sophisticated than the previous discoveries. The boy spent several minutes carefully wrapping the computer in protective material before placing it inside the waste container. "Excuse me," Jonathan called softly, stepping out from his hiding place. Marcus froze like a deer caught in headlights, his young face cycling through surprise, fear, and resignation in rapid succession. For a moment, Jonathan thought the boy might run, but instead, Marcus straightened his shoulders and met Jonathan's gaze directly. "I wasn't stealing anything," Marcus said, his voice steady despite his obvious nervousness. "I only take things that are already broken." Jonathan raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. "I know. We've been finding your gifts. I'm Jonathan Hayes, and I'd like to talk with you." Marcus's eyes widened with recognition. "You're the CEO. I've seen your picture on the company website." He paused, then added with touching honesty, "I'm sorry for trespassing. I know I'm not supposed to be here, but the dumpster has the best components in Silicon Valley." Jonathan couldn't help but smile at the boy's matter-of-fact assessment. "Where do you live, Marcus?" The question brought a shadow across the boy's face. "How do you know my name?" "You sign your work," Jonathan replied gently, remembering the notes attached to each device. "Your mother must be very proud of your technical skills." Marcus looked down at his worn sneakers. "I don't have parents. I live at Sunshine Children's Home about 2 miles from here. Mrs. Patterson, who runs the place, thinks I'm just playing with electronics. She doesn't understand that I'm working." Jonathan felt an unexpected tightness in his chest. This extraordinary child was an orphan, creating revolutionary technology in his spare time while living in institutional care. "Marcus, the devices you've been building, they're solving problems that our best engineers can't figure out. Where did you learn to do this?" Marcus shrugged with the casual indifference of a child discussing a hobby. "I taught myself. The library has books about computers, and there are online tutorials if you know where to look. But mostly, I just figure things out by taking stuff apart and putting it back together differently." "But quantum computing is incredibly complex," Jonathan protested. "It requires years of advanced study to understand the theoretical foundations." "I don't know about theories," Marcus replied simply. "I just see how the pieces want to fit together. Like when you're doing a puzzle, sometimes you can tell where a piece belongs just by looking at its shape." Jonathan studied the boy's earnest expression, recognizing something profound in his explanation. Marcus wasn't approaching technology from an academic perspective. He was intuiting solutions through some form of natural comprehension that transcended traditional learning. "Marcus, would you like to see inside our laboratory? I think you'd find it interesting." The boy's face lit up with excitement so pure that Jonathan felt momentarily overwhelmed by his own privilege. Really. I've always wondered what it looks like in there. An hour later, Jonathan watched as Marcus moved through TechCorp's most advanced laboratory with the wonder of a child, but the understanding of a seasoned professional. Dr. Kim had joined them, initially skeptical, but quickly won over by Marcus's insightful questions and intuitive grasp of complex systems. "This quantum processor is beautiful," Marcus said, examining their latest prototype with reverent attention. "But you're losing efficiency in the cooling system. If you redirected the thermal flow using this pathway," he traced a route with his finger, "you could increase performance by maybe 30%. Sarah and Jonathan exchanged glances. The modification Marcus suggested aligned perfectly with theoretical improvements their team had been trying to implement for months, but no one had considered the specific approach he'd identified. "Marcus," Sarah said carefully, "how can you see these solutions so clearly?" The boy considered the question with unusual gravity for someone his age. "I think it's because I don't know what's supposed to be impossible. When you've never been told that something can't work, you don't think about why it shouldn't." Jonathan felt a profound shift in his understanding, not just of Marcus, but of innovation itself. This child's lack of formal training wasn't a limitation. It was his greatest asset. Unburdened by conventional wisdom about technological constraints, Marcus could envision solutions that trained experts might dismiss as theoretically impossible. "Marcus," Jonathan said, making a decision that would change multiple lives, "how would you feel about spending time here regularly? We could arrange transportation from the children's home, and you could work with our team on projects." Marcus's expression grew cautious. "I don't want charity. I like earning things." "This wouldn't be charity," Jonathan assured him. "You'd be a consultant. We'd pay you for your insights and innovations. It would be a real job." The boy's eyes brightened with possibility, but then clouded with doubt. "Mrs. Patterson says kids shouldn't work. She says my electronics hobby is fine as long as it doesn't interfere with school or chores." Jonathan realized that he'd need to handle this delicately. Removing a child from institutional care required legal procedures, background checks, and social services approval. But he also recognized that Marcus's extraordinary abilities deserved nurturing that went far beyond what a traditional children's home could provide. "What if we started slowly?" Jonathan suggested. "Weekend visits, after-school sessions? We could present it as an educational opportunity, like an advanced internship program." Over the following weeks, Jonathan worked with his legal team to establish the TechCorp Youth Innovation Program, specifically designed to provide exceptional young minds with access to cutting-edge technology and mentorship. Marcus became the program's first participant, spending afternoons and weekends at the laboratory under Sarah's guidance. The results exceeded everyone's expectations. Marcus's homemade computers had been impressive, but with access to proper materials and tools, his innovations became truly extraordinary. He developed an AI optimization protocol that improved processing speeds by 60%. He created a data compression algorithm that revolutionized cloud storage efficiency. Most remarkably, he designed a quantum error correction system that solved a problem the industry had considered unsolvable. 3 months after their first meeting, Jonathan received a call that would test everything he'd learned about recognizing true value. Mrs. Patterson from Sunshine Children's Home was concerned about Marcus's increasing absence from the facility. "Mr. Hayes," she said during their phone conversation, "I appreciate your interest in Marcus, but he's becoming obsessed with this technology work. He talks constantly about quantum processors and artificial intelligence. For a 9-year-old, this level of focus isn't healthy." Jonathan chose his words carefully. "Mrs. Patterson, Marcus has extraordinary gifts that could benefit society enormously. We're providing him with opportunities to develop those talents in a supportive environment." "But he's still a child," she replied firmly. "He needs normal childhood experiences, playing with friends his own age, participating in recreational activities, learning social skills. Spending all his time with adult engineers isn't appropriate development." Jonathan understood her concerns, but he also recognized that Marcus's situation was far from typical. "What if we could provide both? social opportunities with other exceptional children while still nurturing his technical abilities. The conversation led to Jonathan's most ambitious initiative yet, the creation of a residential academy specifically designed for technologically gifted youth. Working with child development experts, educational psychologists, and the most innovative teachers available, TechCorp established the Center for Advanced Young Innovators. The facility combined cutting-edge technology resources with comprehensive childhood development programs. Students like Marcus could pursue their extraordinary interests while also experiencing age-appropriate social activities, recreational programs, and emotional support systems. 6 months after Marcus's first appearance in the security footage, Jonathan stood in the academy's main laboratory, watching as his young protege led a team of 5 other exceptional children in developing what would become known as the most significant artificial intelligence breakthrough of the decade. The problem with current AI systems, Marcus explained to his peers, his confidence grown exponentially from his early days of nervous trespassing, is that they're trying to think like humans. But what if we created AI that thinks like itself? Jonathan observed from a distance as the children collaborated on concepts that would challenge fundamental assumptions about machine learning and consciousness. Marcus had not only found his place in the world, but had helped create a community where other extraordinary young minds could flourish alongside him. Dr. Kim approached Jonathan, holding a tablet displaying the preliminary results of Marcus's latest AI project. "The processing capabilities are beyond anything we've achieved before," she reported. "This isn't just an improvement on existing technology, it's a complete paradigm shift." Jonathan nodded, his attention divided between the technical achievements and the more profound transformation he'd witnessed. The boy who had once scavenged components from dumpsters now had access to unlimited resources, but more importantly, he had found family among peers who understood his unique perspective on the world. "Sarah," Jonathan said thoughtfully, "what do you think would have happened if we'd never noticed Marcus?" She considered the question seriously. He would have continued innovating in isolation, probably making breakthrough discoveries that no one would ever see. Brilliance doesn't disappear just because it's not recognized. It just goes to waste. That evening, Jonathan visited Marcus in his room at the academy. The space reflected the boy's dual nature, one wall covered with advanced technical diagrams and computer specifications, the other displaying artwork from his friends and photos from recent recreational activities. "Mr. Hayes," Marcus said, looking up from a quantum physics textbook that would challenge most graduate students, "I wanted to thank you for believing in me." Jonathan sat in the chair beside Marcus's desk, struck by how much the boy had grown in just a few months, not physically, but in confidence and purpose. "I should be thanking you, Marcus. You've taught me that the most valuable discoveries often come from the most unexpected places." Marcus smiled, then grew thoughtful. "Do you think there are other kids like me out there? Kids who see solutions but don't have anyone to share them with?" "I'm certain of it," Jonathan replied. "And thanks to you, we now know how to find them and help them flourish." 2 years later, the Center for Advanced Young Innovators had expanded to include 47 students from around the world. Marcus, now 11, had become not just TechCorp's youngest consultant, but also a mentor to newly arrived children who struggled to adapt to their extraordinary circumstances. The AI system he'd developed had revolutionized everything from medical diagnosis to climate modeling, generating profits that funded the academy's operations, while providing Marcus with a substantial trust fund for his future. More importantly, his innovations had inspired a new generation of young inventors who understood that age was no barrier to changing the world. Jonathan Hayes had built his empire by recognizing technological trends before his competitors. But his greatest success came from recognizing that innovation itself could be transformed by simply being willing to see potential where others saw only problems. The boy who had once built computers from garbage had taught the entire tech industry that the most valuable resources aren't found in expensive materials or advanced degrees. They're discovered in minds courageous enough to imagine what others believe impossible. As Marcus continued to push the boundaries of what artificial intelligence could achieve, he never forgot the lessons learned during those late-night visits to TechCorp's dumpster. The most extraordinary breakthroughs often begin with someone willing to see treasure where everyone else sees trash. And sometimes, if you're patient enough to look beyond surface appearances, you'll find that the future of technology is being built one discarded circuit board at a time by hands small enough to fit possibilities that others are too big to grasp. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.